The following episode was recorded at Banff Session 2026, which is celebrating 70 years of architects and interior designers coming together to share ideas, culture, strategy, and this year's theme was origin stories. In this episode, I'm joined by Annie Bergeron. She's a design director and principal at Gensler in Toronto. She holds a Bachelor of Interior Design with honors from Ryerson University, which is now Toronto Metropolitan University. She's the recipient of the Ryerson Award of Recognition for Design Excellence, multiple Aredo Design Awards, Neocon Product Design Awards, and VMSD's Award for Virtual Merchandising. I'm your host, Kelso Brennan, and I'm genuinely curious about strategy, business, architecture, design, and talking with the people behind big, bold ideas. Welcome, Annie. I guess I was just going to start with, maybe if you don't mind, giving me a bit of background about yourself and your interior design sort of, we'll call it an elevator version of your career, if you don't mind.
When I was 15 years old, my parents hired an architect to design their house, to just do some minor renovations. And he did a presentation to my family. And I don't think anybody understood what they were being shown. And I had never seen architectural drawings before in my life. And the second he unrolled the drawings, it's like he unrolled ancient scrolls, and I knew how to fluently speak a dead language.
Amazing.
Right? It's like I describe it, the angels descended.
Yeah, just like that spoke to you at that moment.
And then I let him finish his presentation because I could read. I knew what I could read the elevations, the plans, everything made sense to me immediately. And at the end of the presentation, I announced to my family that that's what I was going to be doing.
Really? That soon?
I was 15 years old. And then I talked to the guidance counselor at my school. She told me that there were two universities who gave a degree in interior design, because she gave me a test and she said, you should go in interior design. And there was Ryerson University and University of Manitoba, and I applied to both, and I got into both, and then I selected Ryerson because Toronto felt more exciting to a 20-year-old than Winnipeg. And then from there, I graduated in 1993, which was a big recession year. So even though I was, in top 3 in my class, it still took me about 2 years to find a job.
Really? Wow.
Because I had no connections whatsoever. And the small connections that I made, because I was working for an organization that promoted Canadian furniture and industrial design at the time, the few connections that I made even refused to meet with me and look at my portfolio. I wasn't even asking for a job. I was saying, could you just look at my portfolio and give me some feedback? So when I finally got a job, which was 2 days a week as a librarian in a design firm, I was finally able to slowly get up to 3 days a week, 2 days a librarian, 1 day in the studio. Like I started at the very, very bottom. I mean, I skipped the part where I worked as a construction worker and stuff even before that. But, purely design. So by the time I finally made it to full-time, and then I became an interior designer, one of the first things I did, and the first year that I did it is in 2000, is I became a mentor to university students so that they would have at least one connection.
Yeah, so they didn't have to go through this 2-year dry spell that you experienced.
Yeah, and in the industry. So I've been mentoring students still. Beyond myself, I've been running a big mentorship program at Gensler, but I've run mentorship since, like I said, since 2000. So that all the years I was at HOK, and then since then all the years I've been at Gensler. So if I don't hire them directly, I give them a path to employment because they do know someone.
Yeah.
So that was one of the very, I guess, formative experiences of my career.
When you say that the architect had unrolled these plans and you could just visualize it, what did that look like? Can you maybe walk me through some of that? Like, are you a very visual person in your mind that you can already see the outcome before it's actually started to get laid out?
I guess, yeah, but I've always been very creative. I used to draw obsessively as a child, so drawing a lot, but also very three-dimensional, mechanical, like working with my hands. So I crochet, I knit, I sew, um, I draw. I like to do, I like to make things.
Yeah, hands-on.
So I have all kinds of different. I love to write also. So I have very many creative outlets. So I think if you ask, I think the inception for me is as I have an almost insatiable creative drive, and that's where a lot of my confidence, I would tell you, comes from. It's not from the fact that I'm good. In the session I just gave, I said, if you fail often enough, you're going to succeed by accident. That's almost the story of my career. I am so creative that I can just pump out content, and it's never a daunting thing for me when a client, and I'll do a presentation on something the client doesn't like what I've presented. I'll work with young designers, and often they're very stumped if whatever they imagine the client doesn't like. For me, I'll just do something else. Like, there's just no big, I feel like there's almost this unending
You don't take, we'll call it, we say it rejection, or say some change personal.
What's not just not taking personally is I have confidence I'll just have another idea,
That's so good, yeah.
right? So
I remember seeing a poster, something along the lines of like, if you give away all of your ideas and you don't expect anything in return, more will come back to you. And so I've also felt similar like that, although I have a certain interesting condition called aphantasia. I didn't know this until several years ago, but when I close my eyes, I can't picture something. So I was with a group of friends and they said, if you close your eyes and you picture a turtle, what do you see? And then people were like, oh, my turtle is white and it's got black polka dots. I was like, I got nothing there. Didn't mean that I wasn't creative or was just different, but it fascinates me when you said, he rolled out the drawings and you could picture the elevations. And I've always been somewhat jealous of that, that ability.
And it's not that I see things fully formed in my mind. It's just that when you unroll those drawings, I knew instinctively that I could do this. I saw the space plan, and I understood that kind of intelligence, that kind of logic, that kind of spatial organization or whatever is something that was innate in me, so that I could really do. I can't say that I see fully formed things in my brain, but
certainly a creative visual aspect there, though.
Yeah, I certainly can. I have a fertile imagination.
When you worked with Pinterest, it sparks my interest to think of Pinterest as being, the visionary board where everyone else pins things and they come up with most of their inspiration, or at least, in a more recent generation that it becomes, like I've used it quite a bit for all different sorts of things and I create my boards. Was it a daunting task to create the vision for the place that creates vision boards for other people?
Oh, opposite.
Opposite. Oh,
it was amazing. I loved it. And that's how we spoke to them. We would create boards when we went. So we just opted right away to speak their language. And in one of the first pitches to them, our team, we brainstormed and we thought, and we decided that the Pinterest office needed to be the 3D version of their space.
Oh,
So it needed to be the 3D embodiment of their 2D platform. So that's what we sought.
Talk about that more, because when I think about that, I think about like ever scrolling. It's like consistent, it flows. What went into that?
This is my interpretation of how we did the Pinterest office. It centers the person in the experience, and I'll explain it that way. Imagine you're at the theater, right? You in the theater, very often you will have a stage and you will have a few carefully placed elements that suggest that this is a room. You'll have a dresser, you may have a mirror that's hung in thin air, right? You may have a table and chair, and you can imagine that you're in a house somewhere, maybe in a one-room house or whatever. And then there's the play of the actors. So that's the stage is the macro, right? And the actors, they pick up all kinds, they might have small things and whatever, the props, and that's the micro in the physical world. You have the macro and the micro. The magic in theater is that either the actor or the audience connects the two, finishes the picture in their own brain and connects the two.
And it can be something different for each person that's watching.
Exactly. So when you do a space for someone like Pinterest, if you build too much of the envelope,
Ah, yes.
you impose an experience upon someone else. So I would impose my own idea of what Pinterest is on someone else that might come into that space and actually live that experience very differently.
Right.
Because camping means something different to
So
them.
leaving it universal allows it to be interpreted by
Not
different
even
people.
universal, undefined enough.
Undefined, yeah.
You give enough hints of context where you are, and you give enough small little details so the shelves are filled with knickknacks and whatever. So you give enough of the big and you give enough of the small, and you let, like the audience in a play, you let the person interacting in the Pinterest space connect the two. That's why people resonate so much with that space, and they can't put their finger on it, but that is because they are allowed to fill in that blank themselves. So every time people go in there, the experience is meaningful to them. So they're not living an experience that was meaningful to the Gensler Toronto team who did the Pinterest space. They're living the experience that's meaningful to them.
I love that. I love that. That's such a unique perspective too. Of your highlight projects in your career, is there something that stands out, not as your favorite, but one that was a defining moment for you that says, this is who I am. I have become, we'll call it the expert, the professional. I feel confidence that you felt like this is the moment that you crossed over from becoming an interior designer to I am the interior designer.
I think I'm still becoming.
Oh, like that.
I think any new client, any new designer you work with, any new opportunity brings you into becoming. I think there have been projects and there have been experiences in my career that have been defining. And I love to give this one as an example because it is so unglamorous, but it portrays something that really, again, expresses something that was hardship that I faced early on. I was shaped by the hardship I faced early on to enter the profession. What that did, the difficulty in entering the profession made me say yes to whatever challenge was put in front of me, whether the project was glamorous or not. If it's something that I'd never done before, or if it's something I thought I could learn from, if it was presented to me as an opportunity, I would say yes. So when I was working at HOK, I was a young designer. A client came to us and they had an office that they needed to do. The office was attached to a print and insertion plant. And next to the print and insertion plant, there was a massive warehouse. Very unglamorous. The office wasn't going to be expensive, but the print and insertion plant was, in the good old days when you used to receive your visa bill, you'd receive in an envelope and it had all kinds of promotions into it. The machines decided on your profile what promotions you got. Those were the insertion machines. So they printed the bills and then everything needed to be folded. It was a whole industrial process. Really big machines, large industrial floors, and you had to coordinate with the engineers very, very carefully. Because every machine was different. There was clearances that I didn't understand around machines because forklifts and whatever. It was a dog of a project. No one wanted to do it. I said yes. I learned in that instance how to coordinate with engineers. It was such a difficult process that after that, whenever I did an interiors project, I had to coordinate with engineers. It felt easy. So I was really happy I said yes because I learned something from this that I completely unexpected.
Interesting.
So whenever I've taken the leap and said yes to various opportunities, it's always actually rewarded me way beyond what I thought the rewards were going to be, that I could not have anticipated. So if you make decisions for your design career only based on what looks like a fun design opportunity or a Pinterest project or whatever, you are not going to be to reach your own personal capacity or capability.
I like that a lot. I was just thinking about projects that I've been involved with in my career, and the ones that pay the bills I say skills pay the bills, those kind of things as a motto. But some of the more, I want to say less glamorous ones, but just they were extremely complex to fulfill, um, became very fulfilling in themselves because it just was, but I would take, like, well, we've done some spas in Reykjavik, Iceland, and worked on some things that would be a beautiful project. But then when you look at the difficulties that were associated with Icelandic krona and currency exchange and time zone differences and trying to manage this out of Edmonton, Alberta, it was a challenge that came with a very, we'll call it sexy project that was great for the profile. Whereas the other one, which is 10 times bigger, 5 times more profitable, but wouldn't make the top of our page. It makes me think about projects differently. Somebody else was on the podcast as well, and Daniel Bowman, he talked about doing a water treatment plant. I love that. It was like, wow, a utilitarian function that could still be beautifully designed. Yeah, exactly. Well, I love that.
The unglamorous also deserves to function well and be beautiful.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And that made me think of the inspiration that he would have provided to his audience, his crowd speaking here at this event, of thinking about what they currently have on their task that could be a mundane thing or challenging or not very appealing. And maybe they'll take that little bit of inspiration away and say, I'm going to look at this with a different lens. So that's exciting. If you're going to go back to your career when you first started, what tips would you have for somebody entering into your field specifically if you were going to give yourself advice or to somebody that's new getting into this industry?
Find great mentors.
This episode is supported by High Signs. I know not everybody likes commercials, but I do want to make a note that as the managing director of High Signs, we're here to help support architects and interior designers. And I've been fortunate to work on projects in Reykjavik, Iceland, Hawaii, Montana, Banff, Jasper, Calgary, Edmonton, and beyond. We like to focus on placemaking, wayfinding, and architectural signage. Our design team help with sign planning, content schedules, mapping, engineering, fabrication, and installation. Whether it's a public art installation or campus wayfinding, we're here to help. High Signs. Let's build something great together.
Find great mentors. Try to imagine where you want your career to go. I've been so blessed with the mentors that I've had. I explained in my talk that I've explored pretty much every part of this business. I think one of my strengths is I'm a really great generalist. And some people are really amazing experts or specialists or whatever. I'm actually really good at being a generalist. So I've had amazing mentors on the technical side, on the client relationship side, on the design side, and people. So as a young designer, I was about 5 years in, not even, maybe 3 years in. And the person is still one of my best friends to this day. And she came to work at this small firm where I was working. She had 10 years experience. I had about 3. And I remember thinking, her name is Sharon Ferguson. We'll give her props. I have 2 Sharons that were really great to me. So 2 mentors. So the first one, Sharon Ferguson. And I remember she had about 10 years of experience. And I remember thinking, when I have 10 years of experience, I want to be that good. And then I started to project myself into the future and think, what do I need to do? What do I need to learn to be that good by that time?
So working from backwards, essentially.
Yep. My next really great pair of mentors were a brother and sister team, Sharon Turner and Wayne Koluski at HOK. So there are some of the reasons why I was at HOK for 16 years, is I enjoyed working, even though HOK at the time might not have been the best fit for me necessarily in my career anymore. I loved working with them. They taught me so much, and I'm immensely grateful to have had them as mentor in the career. Sharon was an extraordinary client relationship manager, a really strong designer, and just an amazing person overall. And Wayne was probably the best technical director I've ever encountered. So anything technical, when I was doing work more on the technical side, he taught me so much. So working with them showed me and how they mentored me taught me how I wanted to be a mentor to people, because they were incredibly kind, not nice, they were kind. And being kind is a lot harder than being nice. It's okay to be nice and being liked, that's the easy part. Being kind often means that you need to give people real feedback, and they may or may not like it. But it's important for them to hear, and they need to learn from this. So they were very kind mentors, and I am so deeply grateful for that. And again, so their influence on me was, what kind of mentor do I want to be? And then the other part where I saw my career grow, or I saw me grow as a designer, was I wanted to do public speaking. I wanted to do thought leadership, to offer experiences. And so I looked at people who were good at that. And then I created opportunities for myself. How can I become a public speaker? Because of course, no one's going to hire as a public speaker if you've never spoken before. So through my involvement with mentorship at the schools, what I would say to my former profs at the time, and then later on to people that I started to know through universities, is I would say, I'm going to come and give a lecture to your class. So I would prepare the teacher, great, they get a break. And I'd say, okay, so what are you learning right now? And they would give me the topic. I'd say, okay, I'm going to prepare a whole lecture on the topic. I'd show the prof, they'd agree to it. And then I would go and give the lecture to their class. Like that, no one ever asked me. And then through the library program of their Lunch and Learns, I would say, okay, I know that your kids are doing office design this semester. I'm going to come at lunch, I'm going to do Lunch and Learn, and I'm going to show them one of the projects I'm working on beginning to end, so that they understand
That's
the
that
process.
inspiration that they need to see as well.
That they need to see. So like this, step by step, I started to become better at being a public speaker, understanding how to read the audience, understanding what messaging actually captures people's attention, so on and so forth, and led me to now to this point, being in speaking at events like this. I love to give credit to people, so I'll name one more person
Absolutely.
if you allow me. Well, it's difficult because at Gensler there are so many amazing women mentors. The strength of Gensler, I mean, there's a lot of great guys there too, but at this point in my career, I really sought mentorship from a women. And I've been working a lot with Janet Pogue at the Gensler Research Institute. Her work, her and Diane Hoskins, actually, they were the early people doing the research at Gensler. Their early work in research is what really drew me to Gensler.
What kind of research were they doing?
We do at Gensler, I mean, we do all kinds of design research, but the research at the time that Janet and Diane were working on were workplace surveys. So retroactively, having a look at the work that we were doing via experience and instinct, and verifying its suitability and success against end user surveys that we developed with professional research organizations, so that we would get a really good understanding of the impact that our designs were having, where they were being successful and where they weren't. I was working at HOK at the time. I think the first survey that ever came out was in 2005, and then there was a follow-up one in 2008. You have to understand, I was at HOK until 2014. Well, when I saw those two surveys, I remember thinking at the time, one day I want to do research.
What an
like
impact that makes to have that available.
So, they recruited me almost a decade before Gensler actually recruited me, because by the time I went to Gensler, I knew that that's some of the things. That was some of the things. And right now, that is some of the things I'm working on. So I'm part of the advisory council for the workplace research surveys at Gensler, working directly with Janet. And that, to me, is again something that I project into my head, projected into the future, and thought, that's something that I would like to get more into as my career advances. I mean, I still love design and working with my design teams, so that I'm part of this advisory council now. So that would be, it's a long way, it's a long answer, but that is my answer to people in their careers. You need to be deliberate. You need to know what you like to do, what you want to do, and you need to figure out a way to surround yourself with the proper mentors who'll get you there. And if it's not through mentorship, it's through your own desire and your own wit. How can I get myself there?
Yeah, I appreciate that advice as well. Where do you see yourself say, the next stage? Like when you're projecting out further from here, where you are now, where do you see yourself now?
I have a lot of life experience to offer. I
Some
did,
more than others.
yeah, I have, yeah, and that's part of the talk that I gave today because that's part of my advocacy. So I'm a bereaved mother. I'm the mother of a gun violence homicide victim.
Tell me about the tattoo on your arm.
Oh yeah, that's for him. So my son's name is Olivier, and he was 20 years old when he was the innocent victim of a gun violence homicide at Church and Bloor in Toronto. He was minding his own business with a couple of friends, and they were, attacked by 3 random strangers, people their own age. And, after a very short altercation that they provoked, my son, trying to help his friend, essentially, was himself killed by them. So it's a very difficult life experience to go through. But what I tell people is that I offer no redemption. So if people want redemption, if you want a happy ending and all of that, Hollywood makes millions of dollars every year offering easy tales of redemption where all is well that ends well and whatever. And that's great. And that's the stories people want. And that's comfortable for people because being confronted by a bereaved parent, especially of a tragedy like this, can be very uncomfortable. People want you to be good right away. Oh, and he's doing great and whatever. So redemption, I'm not here for you, but perspective is what I have to offer.
Oh, no
So
doubt.
I cannot offer redemption. I offer perspective. And perspective is my child's dying and parting gift. And but it's a gift that I cherish, and it's a gift that I will not squander. And so I have really great perspectives and a lot of wisdom to offer.
No doubt.
So, and
I
it's
find
not
it,
that I think that I'm better than anybody else, but I have lived through very, very different things.
I knew when you mentioned that you've had a lot of experience, and I said, they're more than others, and nothing that you'd ever wish upon anybody ever.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate you sharing that with me so much because, I have a 17-year-old son. I also worry about that exact scenario where often at that age too, 17 to 20, they feel like they're
Invincible.
invincible, exactly that word. And I've already had that warning with my son too. So you don't know about other people's mindsets, their perspective. But what you've went through is, it's obviously challenging for me to even respond to because I don't know.
Absolutely.
And you know that. I feel like you said people expect you to be good.
Oh, yeah.
And you can't. But I'm like tremendously, I don't want to say inspired, that's not the right word, but how well, at least what I can perceive, you're doing 3 years after, but the stories you're sharing.
4.5 years.
4.5, I'm
I
sorry.
know that's
I'm
okay.
sorry.
I mean, I tell you, there's a clock in my brain. But that's where I see myself in this next phase. I have a lot of kindness. I have a lot of patience. I do not get rattled by clients, so I'm able to help filter things to teams so that they receive it in a way that doesn't cause them undue anxiety or whatever. I also through thought leadership, because I read a lot. I read a lot of design research. Again, I take time to ponder. I take a lot of time to ponder to reflect. As a bereaved parent, a lot of bereaved people turn to fiber arts or to things that are very meditative. So I have carved out a lot of room in my life to think or to ponder or to just let myself go into a meditative state. And when you enter that, you actually make connections. So I think I have the next part of my career is me being able to do more of what I'm doing right now, to do more research, to do more sharing, to do more mentorship, to do less of the doing of design, because I no longer want to do that. I want young people around me to do that. I want to give guidance.
Right. That's, what I also noticed about this industry, and you sort of mentioned it with the tremendous amount of respect about HOK, for instance, where you said it's not the right place for me at this time anymore. And I found that everybody comes from a tremendous amount of respect and appreciation for that I was here. This was my spot, and I was in alignment.
Yeah.
But it doesn't need to remain that way, and yet also respectful when people move on or organizations change, their structure changes, their direction, their focus. And I've noticed that a lot in this industry.
So at Gensler, we have the boomerang program, which I love. And it's one of the things actually people reacted really positively here in my speech, is you don't know what you don't know. So we will have people come and work at Gensler, and we have a great time working with them. And they work with us for a few years. And then, another opportunity comes along, and that opportunity interests them. And sometimes it's the right opportunity for them, and sometimes it turns out that it wasn't the right opportunity. It can be a culture misfit, a whole host of reasons. Sometimes, like me, unexpectedly your family situation changes. So at Gensler, culturally, we part on good terms with people. We understand, because people do boomerang back at Gensler. We just had our monthly meeting at Gensler, Canada here, and so we meet with we connect our Ottawa, Toronto, and Vancouver office. We have this big meeting, and in that meeting we had 2 boomerangers to celebrate. So it happens all the time.
I love the idea of people coming back, because often it's their first career. They don't know, or and you never know what they're going to bring back to you when they
Absolutely,
come.
yeah.
Thank you, Annie, for being here today and spending time with me. I really appreciate the conversation, and I hope you use these beautiful mountains and this scenery to do a little bit more meditation and find some peace over this weekend. So thank you again for joining me on the podcast.
That's the plan. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.